Good afternoon. I'd like to call the March 10th meeting to order for our work session agenda for the day. And at this time, we got 4 items on the agenda. Most of those coming from HCD. So we got Ms. Melinda Lloyd, Alejandra, and then we got the Athens Homeless Coalition will give us an annual update. So with that said, Lloyd, we'll go ahead and get started with item number A.
Okay, good afternoon. We're going to review the FY27 Community Development Block Grant and the FY27 Home Investment Partnerships Program funding recommendations. We're going to do a quick review of our FY26 through 30 consolidated planning goals. Then we're going to look at the past funding trends. We're going to do a quick review of the application process for CDBG. Then we'll look at the proposals and funding recommendations for CDBG. And then we'll roll right into a preview of the home application review process, the proposals and funding recommendations for home. And then we can take a quick preview of the remaining annual action plan schedule. The new FY26 through 30 consolidated plan goals were approved by Mayor and Commission on September 3rd, 2024. And these help to determine priority needs and specific goals that will guide eligible project funding determinations for 5 years. These goals were used for the FY27 CDBG application release and request for proposals process. HCD's current FY26 through 30 consolidated plan goals include Goal 1, affordable housing, Goal 2, public services, Goal 3, economic development, and Goal 4, public facilities and improvements. And these are listed in priority order. The Vision Committee supports housing and community development in its annual action plan process by providing input on emerging community needs, by sharing feedback, and by reviewing and rating submitted applications to assist HCD staff in prioritizing CDBG funding each year. And this is just an outline of those meetings and the times that Vision Committee were with the HCD staff. This year, based on active membership, 9 members were available to assist HCD staff with the review and rating of all CDBG applications submitted.
Everybody participated this time, pretty much. All the members participated.
No, there were 2 or 3 that did not fully participate in the process this year.
So
Is that on a regular basis or just here and there?
For CDBG and CPP, I believe it was the same 2 people that did not fully review the applications. So it's been generally hard to get 100% participation in our Vision Committee. And
Well, that's helpful for us when we're doing it.
it's not unusual.
Okay.
So HCD this year currently has approximately $34,000 for reallocation funds available to support FY27 applications. And we're using our FY26 CDBG award as the assumed total available for FY27 awards. If HUD announces these FY20 or our FY27 CDBG funding awards after the May 5th vote, HCD will work to provide actual CDBG award amounts to the public for each program. We've and including those required increases or decreases for planning and admin, for 20% regulatory cap and 15% budget cap for public services respectively. If the announcements are made prior to the May 5th vote, HCD will update its funding recommendations in the agenda for Mayor and Commission consideration as soon as possible prior to that session date. If we remember last year, they actually announced on the day that we were supposed to vote, so we had to delay an extra week to get those into you. Unlike with CDBG awards, the home funding recommendations will not be impacted by HUD's FY27 allocation announcements, since we don't use FY27 potential funds in the application process. We're working on FY 26 funds that we released. Only the HCD planning and admin total request will be subject to change due to its 10% regulatory cap. So between FY 22 and FY 26, this is just a snapshot of the annual CDBG funding allocations. CDBG funding for the past 5 years includes that 15% regulatory public service cap, annual regulatory cap of 20% for planning and admin support, and then that leaves the remaining 65,000 allocated toward affordable housing, economic development, and public facilities and improvements projects, with an emphasis on our goal 1, which is affordable housing activities. Any unexpended CDBG funds that were formerly available are being recommended to support FY 27 affordable housing projects. So it's important to also remind you that any reallocation funds can only go toward affordable housing, economic development, and public facilities and improvements activities. In our FY 27 CDBG funding request snapshot, HCD received a total of 23 requests totaling $2,345,662 for FY 27 CDBG funding, including HCD's 100% planning and administrative cost. HCD and the Vision Committee are recommending funding for 15 requests totaling $1,256,199. And just again, a visual that shows a gap of $1,089,463 exists between the amount of funding requested versus the anticipated amount available.
But we don't know right now exactly what we might be getting.
That's correct.
But, and I know this sort of guess. But everything's going on, do we think it might be lower than we got?
No,
So the adopted budget was actually 10% more than the
More than-
last budget, which is baffling given all the Doge drama that
Right.
happened. So I would anticipate it would be at or maybe even
it would
slightly.
be slightly higher, especially since our timeliness has improved significantly. And up until FY 25, we had no reallocation funds available. Everything that we had was encumbered and is being expended. So we're in good standing in CDBG right now.
Thank you for that. That's good.
You're welcome. Yeah. We're very proud. Yeah. So our application review process, both HCD staff and the Vision Committee members evaluated all of the eligible applications and scored their respective criteria. Total combined scores with maximum potential score of 140 determined the rank and funding recommendations for all 4 eligible funding categories, which is again, affordable housing, economic development, public facilities, and public services and public facilities and improvement activities. And now we're going to get into the actual recommendation preview. For affordable housing, HCD received 4 applications. Athens Area Habitat for Humanity requested $235,000 to carry out its Brushes with Kindness homeowner occupied rehab and Renew Athens program. They scored, or they ranked 1 in score. HCD is recommending $165,000. Historic Athens ranked 2nd, requested $181,000 for their homeowner occupied rehab program. HCD is recommending $145,000. Athens Land Trust ranked 3rd, requested $380,000 for their affordable housing program to support home new construction activities, rental rehab, and home buyer single family units, including down payment assistance. We are recommending $140,000. The Athens Housing Authority requested $350,000 to support their Act 1 Homes program, which is support of home new construction, home buyer single family activities and down payment assistance. HCD is recommending $121,414. And again, as a reminder, these 4 categories include the 34,000 reallocation funding that's available.
So are you saying that there are only 4 applicants in this category?
Correct.
Do you know why? I mean, is there ever a thought why? These are our regular folk, is that it?
Federal, we can only assume, because we do significant outreach, is that because the federal regs are so cumbersome, there's a lot of red tape. A lot of developers just are not interested in getting mixed up in this type of funding. So our public services projects, they provide supportive services. It is our number 2 goal. The public service cap is 15%. That is regulatory. It cannot be exceeded. And in the FY27 competition, challenge grants include that minimum of $30,000 request and a 25% cash match requirement. Eligible public service request, number 1 is Georgia Conflict Center. They requested $50,000, ranked number 1 for their youth development restorative justice program. HCD is recommending $40,800. Sparrow's Nest, ranked number 2, requested $40,125 for their supportive services program at their day center. HCD is recommending the full amount. The RQMOC, ranked 3rd, they requested $30,000 for their Commonwealth Economic Development Program, Public Service Economic Development Program, financial assistance. HCD is recommending the full amount at $30,000. Family Promise of Athens, ranked number 4, requesting $40,700 for their homeless program to support their shelter. HCD is recommending full $40,700. YWCO, ranked number 5, they requested $30,000 for their Youth Development Young Girls Club. HCD is recommending the full request at $30,000. We also received numerous other applications from Athens Area Homeless Shelter, Acceptance Recovery Center, Athens Oconee Casa Inc., which was a new application. None of those have been recommended for funding due to the limited amount available. And then we had 4 more: Divas Who Wins, Athens Land Trust, Chesson Community Conference, and Moms Adopting Moms. Again, no recommendation for funding. HCD did receive 1 application that was deemed ineligible. It is determined to be a planning and administrative activity, not a public service. And the 20% admin and planning is only eligible for HCD. So that is why it's ineligible. We will work with them for FY28 to see if we can't help them develop a public service application that's eligible. Moving on to economic development, we have our neighborhood revitalization plan, which is Hancock Corridor 6 and 9, East Athens Census Tracts 301, 302. These nurses allow us to support community-based development organization activities that exceed the 15% service cap, public service cap, if they're conducted by those certified CBDOs. Currently, East Athens Development Corporation is the only certified CBDO in Athens.
And I understand that for the west side, there's no active CDO. And there was an effort to try to identify and find some organization to fill that slot. I guess my thought still is, and maybe you can't answer it now, and maybe Commissioner Link needs to be answering this question more than me. I am concerned that we do not have an active CDO on the west side. I think in the long run, you're going to see, it may not be so impactful now, but I do think as Athens grows, that it's going to be crucial that the west side is not excluded. So is there a criteria? Is there
There's a certification process. They have a specialized board that they have to be set up. I don't know right off the top of my head all of the criteria, but there are very specific requirements to be a certified CBDO. We're happy to share those with anybody that's interested in looking at them and reviewing them and considering if they want to become a CBDO.
Melinda, if I recall correctly, Marquita had done some outreach to organizations here. It's probably been a couple of years. Is it correct to say that if any organization that's based in these footprints was interested, we would provide technical assistance?
Absolutely.
Liaison with HUD, you know, we want CDBOs, CPDOs,
Correct.
we just can't make one.
I do, yeah, okay, well, like I said, this is probably Commissioner Link's emphasis.
So an existing nonprofit could apply to become CBO.
Correct.
They have to be physically located in the space.
Oh, their office has to be?
Yeah.
Because this is their identified service space. With CDBG, in order to qualify as a CBDO to serve that area without having some of the red tape, like income verification, that area has been identified as area benefit. But they would only be able to serve with CDBG, those two identified census tracts with our money. Doesn't mean they couldn't serve external, it just means they couldn't do it with our money. Otherwise, they would subject themselves to the 15% public service cap.
Are faith-based groups that have a nonprofit, are they eligible?
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so we received 5 applications for economic development activities. East Athens Development Corporation ranked number 1 for their Operation One Family at a Time. That is a partnership with Innovative Healthcare Institute, requested $150,000. HCD staff is recommending $107,777. Goodwill of North Georgia scored ranked number 2 for their Good Biz Micro Enterprise Program. They are requesting $51,000 and staff is recommending $51,000. East Athens Development Corporation for their Bridging the Gap Job Coaching Program score a ranked 3rd. Their funding request is $50,000 and staff is recommending $33,000. East Athens Development Corporation's Youth Economic Development Program ranked 4th, requesting $50,000. Staff is recommending $32,000. And then Athens Land Trust is requested $100,000, ranked at number 5 for their micro enterprise program. Staff is recommending $35,000. Okay, if there are no other questions about CDBG.
I have questions.
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm still writing them out. If you want to go ahead.
Excuse me?
I'm still writing mine out.
Okay, so, I've asked this, I guess, on several occasions. So we got one organization getting, 3 of the, awards. Does it make sense? Y'all tell me, does it make sense? Collapse those into one, or are these truly different type of awards?
Are you talking about the economic development?
Yeah.
They're truly 3 different types of awards. So when we set up programs in the HUD IDIS system, we have to set them up as independent programs based on the criteria. So for example, the youth program has its own matrix code, program code, which is entirely different from an adult program. So we have to be able to not only identify the different types of programs specifically because of the reporting criteria. So for youth, we have to report the beneficiary numbers for youth. So we have to keep them separate, unfortunately.
And Melinda, I know one of the challenges we've had in the past, which we've streamlined a good bit, was insurance. If one organization is getting multiple awards with us, then
It's the total
same
combined.
criteria.
Yeah, it's the total combined amount of all of their awards together. So they're not having to get 3 different policies. They'd only have to have one
One
policy
policy.
in that respect.
Okay, well, that's good.
Oh, and another reason why East Athens wouldn't be able to have 3 or 1 contract is because they have different partnerships. Like at the Innovative Healthcare Institute is specifically with that agency. And then their Youth Economic Development Program is with a different partner. So we have to keep those independent as well for that.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you. So the presentation includes a lot of data related to the funding recommendations, but it doesn't provide any information about performance metrics like, based on the recommendations, it's a two-part question, because I'm gonna follow up with how were the amounts, the allocation amounts determined? And so we have a lot of data about the criteria, the funding recommendation, and the score, but we don't have any performance measures included in here to help us without having any additional information. Like, there's no information that says we chose to allocate 107,777 instead of 150 because of past performance measures or performance measures submitted.
You'll have that with attachment 2 of the agenda. All performance is listed in attachment 2 of the agenda. It has a summary of each application and all of their past performance information if they were funded in the past.
Is there any reason why it's not included here?
Would it be overwhelming?
Over cumbersome in a work session, so we just
We
included.
can also email it to the group.
It wouldn't, that's a call, an individual call, but I would have, so I would have liked to have that information because I read it, this 2 or 3 times, and I was just curious. When you have an agency that has a high score, but you only award 72% of the funding, can you give us any insight on why 72? I heard you say the vision committee made a recommendation, but the HCD staff recommended the funding.
Correct.
So how did the funding percentage go from 100 to 72?
Do you have a specific, I mean,
Yeah, so
top one.
it's the top one, it's
Oh,
777.
it's based on the amount of funding that we have available and past performance. So if they've been awarded a certain amount over the past 3 years and there was a struggle to expend a greater amount, then we reduce it to help ensure that they're able to expend 100% within the 12-month timeframe.
So you're saying that in that particular instance, there was a struggle to spend the money, that's what you're saying?
To get reimbursements, yes. It's submitted, approved, and yes.
So with the reimbursement submitted, approved and whatnot, so they submitted, part of that is the approval.
They left money on the table last year.
Okay, I just want to make sure I follow
Yes.
that.
And again, we'll share this with the group. It'll be in the agenda item. Performance measures cover both how much of their prior awards, if they have any, were they able to spend? And then what were the specific outcomes? How many households were served? How many people received assistance, whatever. An important point about that spending, you heard it mentioned briefly, it comes into two places. One is so much of this work is built around that 15% public service cap. And money that's not spent in that area cannot roll forward to public services. And so there's always been an emphasis to get that out. And then the second thing is we're reviewed on our timeliness. How quickly are we getting this information to HUD? Are we maintaining our contractual stuff? And that influences how they award future funds to us. So we look at both the impact in the community and kind of that grant administration.
So just some insight that I was afforded last week from various agencies is that when they submitted information, the reimbursement process was so behind that they could not continue to pay out of pocket to sustain the program. So they just.
That's
they just
an
stopped.
inaccurate statement.
Please finish your question.
I apologize.
They provided information, they provided data. They basically could not spend the additional funding that you're talking about. Now it makes sense why. What they explained was that they could only pay so many months out of pocket before receiving it, or not receiving reimbursement. And so it does make sense to me why it stopped and why they don't spend the money, because they just stopped. And I talked to an agency just last night that wanted to make sure that they weren't paid.
Unfortunately, CDBG is a reimbursement. We can't change that. So we can't provide advance payments for them on this. If they ask for this money, the assumption is that they have enough money in the bank to carry these activities out. If they don't, then they need to look at their available budget and ask for what they can afford to support, or they can consider, and we try to provide technical assistance as far as consider taking a line of credit out so that you can constantly have that cash flow going.
And for CDBG, and I'll just jump into, for CDBG specifically and CPP and the grants that we administer at HCD, we have a pretty well proven record that we are able to reimburse agencies within 30 days on average from the moment they submit accurate and complete reports to us. We have a really comprehensive tracker that we're always happy to share. So for CDBG, CPP, our contracts, all of these agencies listed, for the most part, they get them within really 1 or 2 weeks. At the max, it's 30 days. I do understand that with other sources, especially the ones that were up or recapture last week, that is different
No, I'm not,
circumstance.
yeah, I'm not talking about those.
Okay.
We hear often that this is not the case. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the reimbursements were behind, according to some agencies, not the ones last week. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying is that, they almost get penalized because they have to, when you say they have to have enough money. Well, if the reimbursements are behind 2 or 3 or 4 months, we've received emails.
Would you be able to share those agency names? We'd love to look into them and see which specific
So I think-
agencies are.
And I want to get the commissioner's thought, and I'll come back to you, Andrew. I think, though, we're talking about two different types of reimbursement.
Yes.
I think when we're talking about, no, we're talking about ARPA. I think.
I'm not talking about ARPA.
Okay,
I'm talking about CDBG.
okay, well,
Yeah.
from my experience, I have not heard as much reimbursement from CBDG that I have had from ARPA. So, again, just my conversations too with other agencies. So I think, no, this may not be the place and space. I think we do need to have those conversations for how people do get reimbursed in a timely manner. From what, comparing different programs based on government regulations and what needs to get, and how people get their money back. I am concerned, to your point, you mentioned about people may have to go out and get loans, or that's a concern for me. I would hope that nonprofits wouldn't do that if the reimbursement got done in a timely manner. They would have to go back and get those loans. But I think, at least from what I'm hearing, more of the ARPA dollars are more of the concern, maybe so than the CBDG. But again,
I was gonna say, if they submit them,
and it's okay.
we have a very, very, very comprehensive list. If they have submitted, we note the date they submitted, the date that it's reviewed, approved, and our average is less than 30 days. If they haven't submitted a reimbursement and then they submit 3 or 4 at the same time, that is not HCD, that is
No, I
on
understand
the
that.
agency.
Yeah, I get that.
We don't have any outstanding reimbursements that have been pending for 3 or 4 months unless, which can't think of any that had that kind of a delay. The only reason there would be a delay is if they're not providing the documentation that's required to approve it.
Commissioner Boyd.
I was going to go with Commissioner Fisher's recommendation about another place and space. But,
We rarely have times and places and spaces.
right now that Ms. Lloyd has brought up about when they submit everything. And we need another place and space, because what I'm hearing is they submit their paperwork the way they read the directions to submit. Then they get a letter or a call saying, you're missing this and you're missing that. So either they're missing it from the beginning or something is changing at the office. And the way we're hearing it, so this is going to be helpful for you. It's not a criticism. This is helpful for you. They're saying, nonprofits are saying, HCD is changing the information required. Now, when we get to another place and space, I'm willing to sit down with HCD and those agencies that are saying the rules are being changed when they submit. So so like I said, there's no criticism. So we're not gonna go there. But if you're saying one thing, we need to bring the sources together. And I don't have to make this up. I get those same calls that Commissioner, Johnson are making. So maybe that's what we need to do, almost like we did with the homeless coalition and the Advantage Group. I don't know how helpful that has all been for the outcomes, because I haven't heard anything negative. But I'd rather for us to talk about misinformation or the information that seems to be construed differently.
Yeah, and what I was gonna mention is a precursor to that, we'll share their reimbursement tracking sheet that'll show you exactly what it was came in, and if it was rejected and sent back for additional edits, what was asked for from those folks.
That would be helpful.
Because you'll see people that submit timely and have their paperwork in order, there is a churn. And I want to follow up on last week's conversation. We can do better with how we pay people, and that will trim 1 to 2 weeks off of how long they're waiting. And so that's something the manager's office is looking into. But we're happy to share that information and have conversations with any partners and or commissioners to provide clarity on it. Because certainly it's never been my experience that the rules are changing, but if they are, we need to address it.
Well, and I will say that if something changes, it's typically because we've gotten called out for it. We were doing it incorrectly. We have been corrected by HUD and we have to turn around and correct it. It's rare that we would make just a random change for no good reason.
Well, it's even more of a conversation of place and space. Because you just said, if you get a call from HUD, they don't know if you got a call from HUD. You're fixing stuff that somebody told you to fix. So that right there by itself could be some of the confusion. If you get called out and then you call them out, you see what I'm saying? So let's try to fix this. We got good nonprofits and we got good.
Agreed. Absolutely agree.
Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay, we're going to roll into the Home Investment Partnerships Program.
I just want to make sure our CDBG is 5 years, 3 years, year to year,
Annually.
annually.
We have a consolidated.
Okay,
That's 5.
okay.
Actual funding is annual.
Okay.
So real quick, we're going to go through the home application review process, take a look at the application release, available funding, the proposals and funding recommendations, and then finally we will close out that a annual action plan to schedule. So for the home program, the one goal that is specific to this program is our #1 priority goal, affordable housing development and redevelopment. Eligible home activities include homeowner development, down payment assistance, rental development, and community housing development organization activities. So it runs the gamut. This is the one funding where we can currently actually use funding for new construction and rehab for home buyer units, where CDBG is limited in its ability to be used for these types of activities. There is a pro forma requirement for the home application. Home is gap financing and does not support 100% of any development project due to the regulatory subsidy limits and our funding limitations. All home projects are subject to an affordability period that may run from 5 to 20 years, depending upon the activity and the home subsidy amount. And finally, current home income limits, rental limits, and utility rates, and home ownership value limits must be used for all projects as applicable. HUD provides all of these limits on an annual basis. Home is one of the most heavily regulated federal funding programs that exist. For the home application review process, staff reviews 6 application categories for a total potential score of 100 points. And then HCD must complete that thorough subsidy layering and underwriting evaluation and review of each application to ensure that a project is viable, that no more home funds are invested than are necessary to ensure the project is completed, and that annual regulatory subsidy limits are not exceeded. So for FY27 home funding availability, We have $172,536,000 from FY 25 and FY 26 unexpended that can be specific to Chodo set aside. 93,000 for unexpended FY 25 and 26 home Chodo operating funds. The remaining balance can go toward non-Chodo activities. We have FY 25 and FY 26 unexpended home entitlement funds totaling approximately $653,000.
Yes, I said, I just want to make sure, FY 25 funds unexpended was the 172,536, the 98,92
No, those are specific to Chodo unexpended funds
for FY 25.
in 26,
Which one was 26?
where we are right now.
No, I mean, which figure? Because it doesn't
It's
say.
all-
It's all combined.
So within the
Okay,
overall
I
pot of
see.
money, there's
That's
carve
fine.
outs that HUD requires us to dedicate.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
I apologize. Thank you. I was just trying to figure out the math.
Sure. Chodo set aside and operating funding may only be used for Chodo applications. So that money for 24 months cannot move into entitlement. However, if they're unexpended within 24 months, HCD can request that HUD allow us to transfer those funds into entitlement, which would make them then eligible 100% for all entitlement activities. We only have one active Chodo, our certified Chodo in Athens, and that is the Athens Land Trust. So this year, our home available funding versus the application funding request, there's a $2,779,000 gap between what's available and what was requested. Now we will get into our application review. But first, we wanted to give you a quick summary of current development projects. The Athens Housing Authority has an FY 25 active contract. It's executed, but the development for the 4 homebuyer units at Savannah Heights has not started yet. They have an FY 26 award that the contract has not been executed at this time for the development of 2 further homebuyer units at Savannah Heights. The reason that contract could not be executed is you must be ready to break ground within 12 months. And because the FY 25 contract has not started, we cannot execute the FY 26 until it's ready. They also have an ARPA contract for the North Downtown Athens Phase 2 and housing or affordable housing fund contract for Classic City Heights multifamily LIHTC rental developments.
Can you give us more detail for this area,
Which one?
for the Athens Housing Authority? Like how long has the development? Like what is why hasn't it started?
They had home program income that they were using to develop 2 units at Peach Street. There was some delay there. It went past or exceeded the timeframe that they expected development to occur. They finally had the 2 homebuyer units sold at the end of February, but they're using the same contractor to start Savannah Heights. So that contractor could not start the 4 units at Savannah Heights until we finished Peach Street. So there was just a delay from one program to the next. And again, okay, so I need to make a clear understanding. We may encumber award funds, but we cannot encumber them and set up projects in IDIS until that contract is executed. And we don't want to execute a contract until they're ready to break ground. So if we were to go ahead and do the contract and set it up in IDIS, and then 12 months later, they haven't started development, then we're in trouble.
Okay, IDIS.
Information, oh my goodness, I don't know what it's the HUD reporting.
Okay, as long as we both don't know. I mean,
I don't know right off the
I
top
mean,
of my head.
I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying, okay.
I don't know what
I'm trying to catch these acronyms and stuff.
information on.
Integrated disbursement
go.
and information system. It is where HUD formalizes a project and then lets us draw money as
Yes.
appropriate.
So we do everything in this system for CDBG and home. Everything goes through there, our reporting, our annual action plans, our CAPER, our everything is done in this system.
That would be in our agenda. The report we get.
This?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, again, attachment 2, it's all of the summaries along with performance.
For the third bullet, the ARPA contract there's no statement. There's a statement, excuse me.
We're just trying to show you all of the current active development programs that these agencies have.
What's the status of it? It doesn't say the status.
No to phase two, I think they've been blowing up,
Every day.
they've been blowing up the
Oh, okay,
stone.
they're in-
If you
they're
feel
in
the
phase two.
earthquake, that's them blasting back
Okay,
there, so,
that's what I want to know. It's currently underway.
yes.
All right, got it.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Okay. Habitat, Athens Area Habitat for Humanity also has FY 25 home contract that is executed, and it's specifically for infrastructure development at Micah's Creek. It is underway. However, because it is not complete, they are not ready to break ground for the FY 26 contract that was executed, or has not been executed, but that was awarded to start development of 4 home buyer units at Micah's Creek. So there's a delay. We had this contract, everything was awarded last year, and we're still not encumbered the money. They also have ARPA contract for Micah's Creek infrastructure and development of 5 home buyer units. And they have an ARPA contract for rehab of rental properties at Magnolia Terrace in a partnership with Family Promise of Athens. And then finally, we have the Athens Land Trust. They have an active FY 24 contract that's executed, but the project is currently stalled due to environmental review mitigation requirements. We also, they requested that we add an additional $75,000 home funding to this unit because it was stalled for 2 reasons: income or available income to get the project completed and this environmental review. We're working very closely with them. We have submitted the documentation to SHPO to try to get that moving forward. And we're just kind of pending their determination before we can move forward with activities on that. We have an FY 25 active contract that's executed, but this project is also stalled due to environmental review mitigation requirements, and that is also at Bree Street. So you have 2 historic properties that SHPO is requiring mitigation to maintain the integrity of the historic value of the homes, and that has caused some serious delays in these projects moving forward. And I'm sorry, they also have, I apologize, it's in their attachment too, but I failed to add it here. They have an FY 25 contract for a new construction of a single family home that is also active, but it is it's not on track for completion. They are working on it, but it's not on track for completion. And finally, they do have their ARPA contract for development of the remaining 5 homes. They did 5 at Dublin. They have 5 more at Hawthorne Extension. So these are all of the active activities, development activities that our agencies currently have going on. So as we can see, they got a lot. There's a lot going on. They're pretty loaded up with funding at this point. And of course, we're pushing them hard to get these ARPA contracts finished by the deadline. So they're kind of having to prioritize ARPA as their number 1 over pretty much everything else to ensure that none of that money gets taken back. So with all of that in mind, we're not recommending funding for the 4 agency or the 3 agencies that applied for home funding this year. Rather, what we're asking you to consider is allowing HCD to carry out demolition, new construction, and down payment assistance through home buyer units. What we're proposing is that you take a look and allow us to work with those Creekwood duplexes that are sitting out there and falling apart, dilapidated. It's more money to rehab those projects than it would be to build 2 new units on that site. Yes.
Oh, I'm
No,
Family.
single family home buyer units.
Okay, this, you, can you get them now? I sent Bob an email about these 2 properties. I really had planned to come in at our next meeting and introduce my CDO for these 2 properties. This is a recommendation. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be honest with everybody. This needs to be voted, this needs to be on the agenda. How do we get this on the agenda?
It's on the agenda.
It is.
I mean, for a vote to start. I mean, I don't want to study. I don't want something down the road. I mean, if I gotta
If
do.
this is approved, we would start effective immediately. As soon as you vote to
Okay.
approve it, we would.
Well, this was y'all already got my email about the mill houses and what I think about all of that. This was gonna be my substitute, for my CDO. So what I'm hearing you say, I don't have to do a CDO because when
It's on the agenda.
we vote on this is gonna, please don't make me cut up at the next meeting, okay?
So this will be on our agenda, sitting on next Tuesday.
Correct.
For the vote, for us to.
No, I'm sorry. This is, the May.
April, May 2nd.
April agenda May vote.
Okay, all right, so it's not on our agenda next week?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
and so that's my point. I just want to be clear.
Nothing's going to
Because-
change.
Commissioner,
Right.
right
Or you
now.
could just call me Allison. That works.
Allison and I have talked about this. It always evaporates. The last time we talked about these two properties, Blaine Williams was here.
We were in the Snipes building. on
Yes,
retreat.
yes, and-
Anyway, so it's happening now.
Yeah,
It's
So
happening.
that's gonna be my, compromise, not to fight about these mill houses. Because HCD has to take a lead in affordable housing and not just,
We're proposing.
not just our nonprofits.
Yep. We agree.
What we're doing.
We 100% agree. We're very excited about it.
Working on your speech for the main.
For the April meeting, okay.
Agenda says go ahead and get off.
These got next time.
So I want to be clear,
Uh-huh.
this particular work site item will not be on the agenda for next Tuesday.
No, not for next Tuesday, but it is absolutely on the April-May
fine.
cycle.
I want for the public to know, because it's our work session, so yeah. Okay.
Okay, so there are those two duplexes out there, rotten
Uh-huh.
verbs. They're 4 units, correct? We are proposing to create 2 units?
Two single families.
Two single-family home buyer units.
Okay, home buyer units. How many bedrooms are in those 4 units?
There's there are 2, 4, 6, it would only be eight bedrooms.
8 bedrooms in those
And we're replacing them with 6.
6.
6,
I
2.
mean, I'm wondering if there's any way we can get at least 3 homes. I mean, even if we have to divide the lot and save it for later.
Let's not complicate it.
Septic.
It's done. Let's get this.
So it's better off that we reduce the.
I promise you, yeah, we've already met with planning, we've met with TPW, we have met with PUD, we have discussed the feasibility of this, if it's something that would require rezoning, it doesn't. We would have to work with the Environmental Protection Agency for them to go out and check, and make sure that the current septic system is viable. If not, then we would have to invest in improvements for that infrastructure. And then we would be able to build the 2 houses on the 2 separate parcels, no problem. And then the benefit, jumping ahead just a little bit, this is kind of the history of it, but one of the biggest benefits, not only are we putting 2 low to moderate income households in home buyer properties, we are also able to generate income where most of our projects don't. When we allocate our home funding, we allocate it as a grant. So when they sell the home, that's it. There's no money coming back to us. But when we sell these homes, even at an affordable rate, whatever we sell them for comes back as program income and then can be reused in future allocations.
Maybe do the other 2 in the future.
After ARP is out of the way. and
Exactly.
everybody's ready.
So this is a way, if HCD is doing some of this, that we can actually start generating program income and increase not only what HUD is allocating, but that extra money on top of
Oh,
it.
are we prepared, is HCD prepared administratively to be a developer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're excited.
Okay.
Code enforcement and building inspections has already agreed to assign 2 staff members to assist HCD during the building and the construction process to ensure that everything is on track, that there's no concerns, and catch everything up front so that we don't get to a place of CO, application and something's majorly wrong. So we've got that support. Again, We have already met with all of, the other departments that would be involved in
There's
this.
like an RFP that goes out to contractors.
Yes, we would do a competitive bid, accept the best bid, and then move forward from there. And again, the benefit of this is we're using, because it would be us using it, we can get started as soon as you vote to approve it.
So what about the perpetual affordability of these properties? What kind?
20 years.
20 years?
We would
That's
put a
done with
20-year
a lien.
affordability. Yeah, and it's done with a lien. If for any reason the house was sold, they would have to pay back whatever percentage is still remaining in that affordability period, which again would come back as program income.
So we are still, even if the house is sold, there is a piece that it stays affordable?
Yes,
For 20 years.
20 years.
Is there any way we can make that perpetual, kind of like the land trust does?
Let's look into
Do you
it.
have any-
We can look into it.
I mean,
Problem with perpetuals.
it's like a long time, but I've been in my house for 23 years now, and it doesn't seem like that long.
No, I mean, you can put your own affordable, the HUD requires 20-year based on the subsidy that we would use to put into it. We could expand that affordability. It's just a matter of keeping up with it. And of course, the further along you get in that affordability, the less money is going to be owed if they sell. By year 20, you're only talking about those 10 years worth of remaining balance. It could be no more than $20,000.
I'd just like to see it be a property that when the time comes for the family to sell it, it is sold at an affordable rate to another family.
There is a possibility if they sell it to somebody else who meets those eligibility requirements, there is no repayment.
Correct.
The lien transfers with the new owner if they meet that eligibility requirement. It's only if they sell it to somebody at market rate that's not low to moderate income that they would have to repay.
Correct.
And with the, who's finding the developers have to be, can any developer, put in for this? Okay, because I know sometimes they have to be certified, so in this particular.
I mean, you're always gonna be.
I mean, government certified,
Correct.
so you still have to be.
No. Any developer can apply.
A private-
As long as they have their license.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Insurance requirements.
I know, because sometimes we get into, well, we want to use developer, but because they're not under the government.
No, the government, no, the
We're doing a
developers
competitive RFP.
wanna do it.
Right.
Because they don't wanna go
Right.
through all of the rigmarole.
No, we're going to release this as a competitive RFP.
Right.
Anyone is eligible
Good to
to
know.
apply.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just a quick, I mean, I'm sure, but this is kind of more just for public information to put out there. So we did acquire these Creekwood properties way back in 1993. And Advantage Behavioral Health Systems did lease these properties up until 2018. And since then, those units are vacant. They have become extremely dilapidated and extensive rehab activities are required, and that would exceed the subsidy likely that we could put into these units to get them back up to code standards, which is why we're recommending just to demolish in the first place. 6 units in the neighborhood that are surrounding these parcels are already owner occupied, and the parcels are currently zoned as RS8. So again, as we said, it would not require any rezoning if they would fit in and be very compatible with the existing neighborhood area. And the infrastructure is already in place. There's already water, there's already septic. We would just have to make sure the septic is up to code or do what's required to get it there. And then all home funds would be used, here's another thing. All home funds are going to be used for hard and soft construction costs because we already have our program, our admin and planning. So we don't have any extra money that's going out for staff costs in that respect. We'll be able to sell these units at well below market value, and we'll provide up to $25,000 down payment assistance per unit so we can make it even more affordable. So say we sold the unit at $150,000, we'd technically be selling it at $125,000. But again, all of that would come back as program income,
AMI.
area median income.
It's 80%.
Oh, it's 80% or below. I'm very sorry. 80% or below. So all home and CDBG to meet LMI qualifications is 80% or below that area median
All right,
income.
and that's, all right, and Oh, okay, because we're still using government money, right?
We have to, yes.
Okay, because I was trying to get to 60, but okay. All right, I tried.
It's up to 80%. So if somebody
I mean,
were to
it
come in
could
at
be money.
60,
Okay,
was qualified, et
okay.
cetera.
Can get the
Yes.
mortgage. then
Okay,
yes. I mean,
yeah, that's what I would love.
Up
absolutely.
to 80.
Yep. Again, any proceeds from the sale come back as program income, which would then be released, re-released in the next most recent application process. And then we have the 2 single-family home buyer units developed, made available to those low to moderate income households in the FY 27 performance period, while our partner agencies complete their ARPA and their home development projects. And then when we release in FY 28, hopefully everybody will be more at a better capacity to really apply for these funds and get back on track. So they can prioritize what they've got going on right now while we still get 2 units on the market.
I want to ask Andrew a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell somebody, or was somebody told that houses that are on, maybe it was the tax assessor, houses that are on the, courtyard steps for tax
Okay.
delinquency, that we, the local government, could really, we could step in?
Land bank.
Yeah, so that has come up when we reviewed activities of other land banks, that is a common way where they get blighted, dilapidated, tax delinquent properties, and then they can return them for activities like this, or they can sell them back into the market. So yes, that is a mechanism that can occur as capacity is built in that area.
Okay. I got 2 in my neighborhood.
Again, it's only for blighted areas. It's blighted areas as a corridor. It's
No,
not.
no, I'm not, well, then we're talking about 2 different things, Stephanie, because
We are,
we're talking
we are.
about houses that go on the courtyard, the court steps that are behind in taxes. That's what
I heard you. I'm saying the Land Bank Authority, I've said it 4 or 5 times, and the attorney agrees that it's not for onesie and twosie houses that are on the courthouse steps. It's for corridors of areas of blight per Georgia state statute. So it's going to be used for onesie and twosies. And I'm just saying that's not what it was set up for. And I'm not going to talk anything anymore for the rest of the meetings. I hear you want to get it going and get it over with. So I'll be quiet.
I just need, no. I think then what I hear you saying, there's 2 different things that is being discussed. You're talking about, Mr. Attorney, jump in here anytime you feel like it.
Make and bid does exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Land Bank Authority does exactly what you're talking about. They have examples that share.
I need to look at it. I agree 100%. Commissioner Johnson's correct about it being, land bank is to revitalize blighted properties. I need to look about the quarter thing, see if that's required.
Yeah, that's what I was struggling with is too, is blight is definitely in the enabling legislation. I don't recall anything about it having to be a corridor or like concentration of blight as opposed to spot blight, if you will.
And again, typically that's what they do, but they're not restricted only to that. There are other things that they're able to do that may not be typical, but legally they can.
And I guess that's why we have a work session, so we can get, because I really do not want to be in a commission meeting all night. I don't want to be here all day either, but I'd rather get the information out here. So there's 2 different things. So I don't have to ask on our regular commission meeting. I'd rather for you to jot down my questions now and address Commissioner Johnson example. And the judge has already said he's going to look into it, because there's a lot more opportunities down the road in the future. It's definitely thinking out of the box. It's definitely doing stuff that we have not done. It's definitely not status quo.
I was wondering if you were using that word.
It's definitely not so I'm just saying, I see you jotting it down, but I think this is how we move forward with housing. That's all. I'm through.
Okay.
And I'm not promising not to say nothing
Person reading.
Next steps in the schedule for the annual action plan 2 for CDBG and home. We will publish the notice in the Athens Banner Herald on the April 12th. We will publish the actual annual action plan 2 draft for public comment, 30-day comment period on April 13th. We have the agenda setting session is scheduled for the 21st of April. The voting session is the May 5th. We will initiate award notification and contracting on May 6th. And FY27 AAP2 deadline to HUD, unless they tell us otherwise, through CPB notice is May 17th, which is why we have this crunch time for all of these other activities, is we have to get this done by May 17th. And then the home CDBG and home funding availability is July 1st, 2026. With the exception of HCD, we would get started on May 6th. Bless you. And that's it.
Good report. Thank you.
Bless you again.
Thank you.
And as we go along, if you got questions, let's wait till they finish up, and then we'll come back. Y'all switching,
We are.
y'all switching gears.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so we can just let them go through the presentation. Then write down any questions, then we'll ask the question.
Do you want me to wait until everybody's back or just jump right in?
Go for it.
Go for it. Okay, so now it's my turn to talk about HOME-ARP funding recommendations. It's been a little bit of time since we last talked about HOME-ARP, so. So it has been a little bit of time since we last talked about HOME-ARP with you, so I'm gonna be going a little bit over again about what the funding source is, what it's for, our local allocation plan, before digging into our local application process, our proposals and funding recommendations. So HOME-ARP is another one of those COVID era funding sources. It is a one-time source that came down to us from the larger American Rescue Plan Act that put aside $5 billion of supplemental home funds, specifically for homeless related assistance. It is separate from ARPA. So we got to keep those separate. Again, it's very specific to homeless-focused housing assistance, homelessness assistance initiatives, and supportive services implementations. We cannot do anything outside of that. Oops, skipped ahead. In September of 2021, ACC Gov was awarded $2.5 million of HOME-ARP funding. Since then, HUD discovered a couple of administrative errors on their end that actually reduced our award to $2,498,955. So that is the amount of funding that we are talking about today. One of the key regulations for HOME-ARP is that we had to develop an allocation plan that HUD had to approve. We did this in late 2022, early 2023, around the same time we were doing the strategic plan for homelessness. So we were able to piggyback on a lot of that consultation with 45 stakeholders and service providers. Over 200 residents that could benefit from these programs were also participants in that public input process. That allocation plan was approved by this body in March of 2023, and HUD quickly approved it thereafter within a month. We do have the ability to submit a substantial amendment to this allocation plan should we feel that the current setup no longer fits our needs as a community. This is what the allocation plan currently looks like. The percentages are the same as in the original allocation plan. The actual numbers, again, had to shift a little bit based on that reduced funding. But you can see we set aside 52% towards the development of affordable rental housing, specifically for individuals at risk or experiencing homelessness. Supportive services was allocated 25% of our award. And HOME-ARP has this really pretty interesting categories for nonprofit operating and capacity building. We have a max of 5% of that our agencies awarded HOME-ARP could take advantage of. And there's also a 15% cap of administration and planning that would go to HCD. You can see here, we only allocated 13% so that we can maximize as much as we could towards our partners. So you're probably wondering, why have we been holding on to this funding for these last couple of years? And the answer, as it tends to be, is ARPA. Our partners were really focused on ARPA expenditures, homelessness, and affordable housing. So we wanted to give them a little bit of breathing room, which is why we held back this application until September of last year when we released it. The original application date was October 6th. We provided, as always, a lot of comprehensive technical assistance, as we always do. By the time the October 6th deadline came through, we had only received 7 supportive services applications, nothing for affordable rental housing. So we extended the deadline by 2 months, encouraging our affordable housing partners to submit something, which they did, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Grant period goes through September 30th, 2030. So this is one of those multi-year contracts that we could do. You'll be glad to know that the majority of the proposals we received were multi-year. So that'll almost in some ways kind of replace the ARPA funding for some of them. This is a reimbursement only grant. There is no opportunity for advanced payments. Our agency partners that applied are aware of this. And I did not write this down, but I will mention, we currently do not have an obligation deadline from HUD, but it's gonna come any minute or any day we feel like. So we just wanna get ahead of the game and not have to be dealing with last minute decisions. HOME-ARP, again, it's a little quirky. We can only use these funding to primarily benefit individuals or families from these 4 qualifying populations. They are, number 1, individuals already experiencing sheltered or unsheltered homelessness. 2, individuals at risk of homelessness. 3, persons who are fleeing or attempting to flee situations like domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking. 4, anybody else who might be at risk of housing instability, but who might benefit from supportive services to try to prevent that from happening. And also veterans and families that include a veteran family member can also benefit from these programs as long as they are already part of one of those 4 categories. Something else that HUD is requiring us to do is to make sure that all 4 qualifying populations are represented across our portfolio of contracts, if you will. So we've made sure to consider that in our recommendations here. Again, the eligible activities that we put forth in the RFP that are also part of the allocation plan are rental affordable housing. We were focused on shovel-ready, single or multifamily projects. It could have been new construction, moderate to major rehabilitation. There was also room for agencies to request funding for acquisition or demolition as part of the larger project. We were also looking for homeless supportive services applications, and that really covers everything you would generally think of under that category, everything under McKinney-Vento, housing counseling, direct financial assistance, childcare services, et cetera. And then again, we have these really interesting opportunities for capacity building and operating funds to help those applicants be in the best place possible to implement their HOME-ARP activities. There are a couple of little details with those. Only agencies receiving other HOME-ARP funds can receive those 2 buckets. And then there's also a cap that in any fiscal year, they cannot be spending more than up to $75,000 in those types of budget line items per fiscal year. Our applicant eligibility, nothing too surprising here. Nonprofits with 501c3 status with at least 1 or 2 years of experience in operating. For-profit entities were eligible. Our community housing development organizations were eligible. Because of the complexities of these funding regulation, it's almost as complicated as HOME, perhaps a little bit more, because it merges all sorts of regulations all at once. We were looking for agencies that were currently in compliance with any open active contracts that we administer. We were looking for agencies with a minimum of 3 years of experience administering similar programs. There were no match requirements, but we did encourage leverage, as we always do. And then for all those applications for rental development, we were giving some preference to agencies that could demonstrate past or current capacities to successfully manage and complete home-assisted housing developments. Again, we're always looking to help our agencies make sure they have everything they need to succeed. Our rating criteria, again, very similar to what we do with CDBG and HOME, up to 100 points. We typically consider 70 points to be the absolute minimum threshold to be considered for funding, and that has served us well in the past. Here is a quick snapshot. We received a total of 9 applications, totaling $6.7 million. 7 of those were for supportive services, coming in at about $3.7 million. to request for affordable housing at 2.9 million. You can see here, staff is recommending we fund 6 supportive services projects at 2.175 million and no projects for our affordable housing. And I will talk about why in a minute. To give you an idea, we had a funding gap of $4.2 million in difference between available funds and funding requests. So we're going to jump into supportive services first. I did want to, because it's been at the top of conversations recently, all supportive services applications allocated between 14 and 90% of their budget towards direct client financial service. So everything from eviction prevention to first month's rent, childcare, et cetera. So that is something we expect them to keep. Family Promise came in at #1 for their prevention and diversion program, currently funded by ARPA. They requested a total of $875,000. We're recommending $564,841.53. The ARC came in at #2 for their eviction prevention project. They requested $400,000. We are recommending $270,000. The Athens Area Homeless Shelter requested $780,000 for the Almost Home Emergency Shelter Supportive Services. We are recommending $480,000. And you can see here, I hope on the slide, we broke down their total request by their main activities, capacity building and operations requested and recommended. Advantage Behavioral Systems came in at #4 with an interesting new partnership with Athens Housing Authority that would essentially place Advantage caseworkers within the residential communities to assist those that are currently facing likelihood of eviction or just housing instability. And it would also set aside a certain number of Housing Authority units for individuals kind of working their way with Advantage's continuum of care system. So they're requested $300,000. We're recommending $240,000. The Athens Community Council on Aging requested a little over $439,000 for their housing counseling project. We are recommending a little over $320,000 for them. #6 was our Athens-Clarke Homeless Coalition. They requested $300,000 for their flexible housing fund. This is, I believe this is the agency that's 90% direct service direct service financial assistance. We're recommending the full amount there. Salvation Army came in at #7. That is the only application that we are not recommending for funding. They requested $687,000 for their Sustaining Those in Needs program. And we're not recommending them. Jumping into the affordable rental housing requests, again, we received 2. You can see them here. It was Athens Habitat for Humanity and Moms Adopting Moms. So you can see, I'm gonna start from the bottom. Moms Adopting Moms requested 1.5 million. Their score was 53 out of 100. And so they did not meet our minimum scoring threshold. This is I think the first year that this agency applies for any of our funding. So we were excited to see new agencies. We're going to continue working with them to make sure that they know what they need for the next round of funding. Habitat for Humanity is recommending, they own a property at 243 Bray Street. There's currently 1 house there, but they are trying to develop up to 12 additional single family units, so relatively small, in the lot. We consulted with planning department, with PUD, with our other partners here at ACC Gov, just around feasibility. And we do have some concerns about how feasible this would be. The lot is very unique. It's very skinny in the front and then it widens up. They would likely require an easement from a neighboring property to deal with sewer concerns. The plan that they submitted for our planning partners, it would probably require some work, just given the layout, given the topography, just kind of how the lot is set up. And because, again, we're talking about federal funding, we're talking a very restricted timeline. We just don't feel comfortable recommending funding for them at this time, especially as they're still working on the Micah's Creek project and all the others that Melinda shared earlier in her presentation. And so, in short, this is our larger recommendation, would end up shifting the 1.3 million we had set aside for affordable rental we would want to shift it towards supportive services. You can see there, we would keep our nonprofit operating and capacity building and admin and planning as it was. You can just hopefully easily see there, we're just shifting from rental housing to supportive services. Because it's a substantial change to our allocation plan, we would need your authorization to submit a substantial change request to HUD. We're pretty confident we would get it approved because we could very easily prove that we just don't have the local capacity to move into that rental housing activity right now. So you would see that in your agenda report. This again would be in the April-May cycle. You will see these two action items, one to authorize us to submit that allocation plan amendment, and number two, pending that approval, allow us to move into contracting as I've outlined in the last few slides. We would, of course, we would have to do a 30-day comment period before submitting that substantial amendment. So we would probably start that in the next couple of weeks so that by the time we roll into the May 5th meeting with you all, you would be able to see whatever any public comment we might be getting around this change. So that would be part of your agenda as updated as we can. We would submit that substantial amendment to HUD as soon as we have that authorization from you on the 6th and initiate contracting. We would not be able to execute any contracts until HUD says you're good to go, but we would at least get the balls rolling. And that's what I've got on HOME-ARP. Any questions?
I got one. Can you go ahead? I'll wait. Question?
I'm sorry, I stepped out of here. At the last GIG meeting, there was really a good presentation about rental plan. I know you have not done a plan like what you're gonna tackle first with what we were shared with GIG. Is any of these dollars, will any of these dollars be considered in anything that we heard at the GIG meeting? Or possibly?
No, these are specific to homeless activities.
Oh, this is, so I thought I saw rental.
Well, but it's rental for homeless.
Yeah, so it'd be people moving out of homelessness. It's almost like a transitional housing.
Okay, no
That's
problem.
very specific.
But want to highlight the fact that of the 6 that we're recommending, 4 of them are diversion, eviction prevention, and they'd be able to serve the entire population of Athens-Clarke County as far as you'd have families being served, singles being served. It would run the gamut. So we've heard a lot from this body and from the residents about the need for more money to help evict or prevent eviction. We know per the money that it's cheaper to keep people in their housing than to help them once they become homeless. So that's another very important thing to put up front to you is another reason we're recommending this is the need is so high in Athens that we see a good opportunity here to put this money to very good use.
Does this have any of your recommendations, does this have anything to do, how did the homeless, there was the most recent study, how did it fit into your recommendation?
The strategic plan for.
No, the one that was about 2 or 3 months ago, the $10,000.
Oh, that's not ours. That's the Homeless Coalition's.
So y'all,
We work with the strategic plan to reduce and prevent homelessness, and it very much falls, all of these activities fall directly in line with strategies mentioned and listed in that homeless strategic plan.
so we know that ARPA money is going to end in 2026. So will this keep the work going after ARPA?
Yes, in fact, I want to say the majority of the agencies, if not all, that are recommended for funding now are currently recipients of ARPA funding, or if not currently, they have closed out ARPA contracts with us. So all of this would essentially in many ways help continue the ARPA work all the way through the fall of 2030.
Okay.
So it's a lot of continuity in that sense.
Before I ask my question, any other commissioners got a question? the McKinney veto, is that in conjunction with the school district, or y'all working with them on this? Cause that's Norman, falls
Yeah.
under their purview.
Right, so yeah, so they do follow the McKinney-Vento. The way that we talk about McKinney-Vento here is that all the services that the schools can offer under McKinney-Vento, we can also offer and fund through this funding. So direct service assistance, childcare, all of those
Well,
things.
McKinney-Vento is actually the homeless umbrella, and school is part of the
Part of it, right.
McKinney-Vento. Our COC is a part of McKinney-Vento.
Okay.
So it's that big umbrella picture.
Well, I'm asking, is that in partnership, or do y'all do that
Separate.
as a separate?
It would be separate.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that our partners can't work with the school district to identify people that would qualify for the need. There could be a referral system set up between the agencies that are awarded and carrying out the activities with the school district to refer any families that they identify.
Right, because I think that is where your biggest referral, I would assume, will come from, though.
Oh, it wouldn't be surprising at all. Yes.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
sure thing.
Next.
Okay, so the next is our community partnerships program. This year, Envision Athens was allocated the responsibility and authority to assist HCD with our vision committee. As if you recall, our vision committee are the ones that review, rank, and make funding recommendations for community partnership funding. HCD is not a part of that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Sally, who led this process this year, and let her take over.
Hey, everybody. I'm Sally Kimmel-Shepard, Revision Athens. All right, go ahead. All right, so what we're going to do is talk about the Community Partnership Program grant. This is how we got to where we are. So in the past, oh, this is different from what I had. In the past, this grant was, this partnership was conceived around the end of 2023. The Mayor Commission voted on having like a set amount put aside specifically for nonprofits in Athens to apply for funding, and they labeled it under the Community Partnership Program. So what we're going to talk about today is the review of those proposals for the fiscal year 2027 and what the recommendations are from the Vision Committee. This one's a little bit different because the Vision Committee is the organization or the entity that reviewed all of the applications and then completely decided on the funding recommendations for those applications. So even though HCD was very much into the process of accepting applications, providing technical assistance, and even assisting the Vision Committee in reviewing some of those applications, they weren't really, they didn't play a whole lot of input as to what the funding recommendations were. Okay. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, this slide just went over what I told you all. There was about $1 million for funding to be allocated through this funding source. And the reason why I'm here is because in addition to the other things Envision Athens does, ACC Gov paid $60,000, not just for this, but for everything that Envision does. And so this was what added to my responsibilities with Envision Athens for this year that we're currently in. So there's two types of activities for this. Oh, did you want to mention the
at
thing?
the end.
Okay, all right. There's two types of activities that are eligible for CPP funding. One is community services and one is homeless services. And you'll see here that community services, it's neighborhood revitalization, poverty reduction and economic strength activities, intervention and prevention activities, which are all very broad. But in homeless specifically, it's case management. And if you're a homeless serving agency applying for this funding, you must assist with the annual PIT count. PIT stands for point in time count, which is the one day in January where we count all sorts of people who might be experiencing homelessness in Athens and around the country. And then also they need to participate in the continuum of care, which is a group of all the agencies that come in contact with folks experiencing homelessness. So again, Melinda went over who sit on the Vision Committee. This year, the Vision Committee also added bylaws. We appointed and elected our executive committee with our chair, vice chair, and secretary. And I just want to say a big thank you to all those who agreed to be part of the vision committee. It's a lot of time and effort that they put into reviewing not only all 27 of these applications, but also the applications that were previously spoken about in this meeting. So there's a rating criteria that this falls under. The way this kind of goes down is that the vision committee has access to all of the applications online through Zoom Grants, which is the platform that is used for this. And then they, on their own time, within a specific time frame, but on their own time, get to review all of these applications. And there's a rubric that they follow as they're reviewing applications, and they score them internally within this rubric. And then that rubric can add up to 100 points. So this is the funding applications snapshot. There were, by November of last year, there was a little bit over $3 million worth of applications or requests put in. Again, they had to decide out of that 3 million who rose to the top to get about $1 million in funding. Yeah, there were 2 organizations that applied for funding that were not eligible. And so that brought us down to a little bit less than 3 million, about 2,800,000 were actually requesting funding. This slide here breaks down the type of activity type, and you'll see as it's broken down into which ones are homeless services, neighborhood revitalization, intervention and prevention, poverty reduction, economic strength. The thing that I like to look at a lot is this other chart over here with the bars, and it tells you exactly out of all those applications what type of activity those that applied for the funding are wanting that funding to go towards. And as we review the actual recommendations, you'll see that they are color coded for those activities. So you'll get to see. So as we look at this, just a couple things before we dive into this. First of all, the vision committee decided out of the gate, as we had this several-hour conversation, which was recorded, y'all can review, that we would not be reviewing applications that were scored 75 and below, because there were a lot of applications to review. So we had to have a cutoff somewhere, and that's what has been done in the past. And so we decided to move forward with that. That doesn't mean we didn't talk about those, but that is what we ended up with. To give you some sort of idea. Also, those that are in bold are those who had received funding in the past. Those with an asterisk indicate agency program that is recommended for other funding in this fiscal year that we're talking about. And then you'll see them highlighted. So the light color are homeless services. The green is reduction, poverty reduction, economic strength. Intervention prevention is the funky aqua. And then the more blue is neighborhood revitalization. So I'm going to go through these now. What we've got here is the name of the organization, their program name, the amount they requested in that 3rd column. The 4th column is the score that they scored on that rubric, which was done by the vision committee on their own time as they reviewed these grants through Zoom Grants. And then that correlates with the ranking, was the higher score. And then the final column is what the vision committee actually decided that the recommended funding would be. So Athens area homeless shelter requested around $200,000, and the recommended funding was around $100,000. Athens area diaper bank, $52,000. We kept them at the same amount at $52,000. Family Promise requested $200,000. They recommend a slightly less amount at $170,000. United Way 211 requested $26,000. They recommend their funding at the same amount at $400,000. Acceptance Recovery Center, $18,000. We had the same amount recommended at $18,000. Books for Keeps, $90,000. We recommended $67,000. Project Saved, $100,000 and some change. We kept them at the same amount that they asked for at $100,000 and some change. Athens Land Trust, $136,000. We recommend $90,000 for them. Advantage Behavioral Health, and this is Homeless Day Service Center. Thank you. Support Services at $50,000. We recommend that amount at $50,000. Downtown Ministries, specifically Our Daily Bread Community Kitchen, They asked for around 239,000, and we recommend 104,000. The Homeless Coalition asked for, this is for their Continuum of Care program. They asked for 76,000, almost 80,000. We recommended 70,000. Horizons Atlanta at UGA, which is workforce development, working with children, trickles up to workforce development. They asked for 25,000. We recommended 25,000 for them. And then the Homeless Coalition submitted an additional grant for community services for 88,000. We recommended 75,000 for them. And then Sparrow's Nest requested 40,000, and we recommended 40,000 for them. We're still, here we're at 76 for the rubric. If you look for the rest of them, we did not recommend funding for them. I have an asterisk beside the ARC, even though they are above the 75 points of our rubric. We did not recommend funding for them. They are also receiving funding in fiscal year 27 through another funding source. Athens Community Council on Aging is also receiving money through another source for this fiscal year that we're talking about right now. Y'all have any questions about this part? This is the major bulk of it.
Don't open that can up.
They'll ask at the end.
Questions in the middle of it.
I'll tell you right, I'll get to the last slide then. How about
Okay.
that? So we're talking about this today, the recommendations from the Vision Committee for the Community Partnership Program funding. And then hopefully it'll be then brought in front of the agenda setting meeting. Perhaps y'all will vote on it at April the 7th meeting. Contracts would be awesome if they went out in April, but the funding should start around July. It'll be available for the fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th, 2027.
Yep, and one more item that you will see in your agenda in the March-April cycle is we are asking for you to consider setting a minimum funding request for every application of $60,000. Currently, there is no minimum request. So as you can see, some applications are coming in at $18,000. So this recommendation comes in line with our internal audit findings, and of course Gavin left right now. So one of the recommendations from them to us was to increase our efficiency and our efficacy and being able to provide technical assistance and make sure every agency can do that. And one way we can do that is to award a fewer number of contracts, but with a higher dollar amount. One way we can do this is to set that threshold of 60,000. It really was only 5 applications we received this year that was below 60,000. And we're pretty confident just knowing those agencies and programs that they can probably ask for that minimum 60 if they knew they could do it. So we're feeling pretty confident about that, and hopefully you can consider that as part of your votes in April.
And then one other point before you get into Q&A, this is proposed awards for FY27. So the actions you take here do kind of set the stage for the FY27 budget. But procedurally, so let's say this goes into the April agenda and you'll say, awesome, we'll work on contracts, we'll go through insurance review and get everything in line, but they will not be submitted to the mayor for execution until you've approved the budget. Because if for any reason you needed to deviate from that, we don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Because this part of our general funding, so yeah.
That's right.
Questions do y'all have?
Questions?
We're worn out.
No, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm gonna hold my question.
That's good practice.
Well, we're doing good. It's 2:40. We're
No,
doing
we're
good.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
All right.
Nope.
And last but not least, Michael Bean from the Homeless Coalition.
Home Coalition. Thank you, Michael, for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your attention today. I know you've been here a long time, so I have a lot of information, but I'll try to move through it as quickly as possible. My name is Michael Bean. I'm the Executive Director with Athens Homeless Coalition. Is it better? Okay. These chairs are a lot more comfortable than the ones back there.
It's by design.
So first, I just wanted to start when the Athens Homeless Coalition was founded, that we had a contract with Athens-Clarke County to achieve a handful of specific mandates, and I just wanted to report on those at this time. First was to hire a full staff, which we have, our community engagement coordinator, our community data coordinator, and executive director. Improve our coordinated entry system. I'll get into more detail, but we have successfully built a brand new coordinated entry system from the ground up, set up policies and procedures for that program, and it's in implementation. Administer a flexible housing fund, which I'll talk more about also, but that is something that we also set up policies and procedures and launch this housing fund, and I'll provide some statistics on that in a few minutes. Increased participation with people with lived expertise. Sometimes we hear the phrase PLE, people with lived experience. I prefer people with lived expertise. Those are people who are either currently experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness and bring with them a level of expertise on navigating the system and a landscape of homelessness. Collaborate with faith-based organizations. This was one of our focuses in 2025 and 2026, and I'll talk more about that also. And engage with nonprofit and for-profit entities, which is one of our main priorities. So you can see here that we fulfilled all of our contract requirements with Athens-Clarke County. Now some program updates. One of our main tenets is to support our service providers, and that's kind of a broad definition. So we think of homeless shelters, emergency shelters, food relief programs, but it also includes faith-based organizations, the Clarke County Library, some for-profit entities, any entity that is a part of the continuum of care. It also includes that Athens-Clarke County Police Department and concerned citizens. So lots of people as part of that continuum of care. So Homeless Coalition provides guidance and expertise on request. One of our big focuses is facilitating collaboration among our continuum of care and also churches, businesses, healthcare providers, and especially in the last year, shelters and warming stations. We also monitor state and federal legislation and regulations and share that information with our service providers to give them a heads up on how they might be affected by new and recent legislation, or if there's a call to reach out to your elected officials and voice your opinion on anything that's coming down the pipe. And a specific effort that we did last summer, we had such a hot summer that if you all recall, it got pretty unbearably hot, but not hot enough to trigger emergency shelters or cooling centers. So what the coalition did is kind of proactively reach out to our partners and say, how can we support your clients and how can we help people who are unsheltered to get some relief from the heat? And so based on those conversations, we provided industrial sprinkle fans, industrial fans with sprinklers in them, cooling fans, and also canopies. And then more recently, during the winter months, provided propane for different agencies who do some outdoor heating for their clients, either during their business hours or early morning before business hours. So now I'm going to speak about coordinated entry. It's a complicated system and a complicated concept, but it's something I'm really proud of, and probably one of the proudest things that we've done with the Athens Homeless Coalition. Is completely innovative. We are the only community in the state of Georgia to have revamped our coordinated entry system. Every other community, every other city in Georgia, and most cities across the nation use kind of the old tried and tested system that was developed in the 1990s and has several flaws with it. So to improve how it did this, and also upon recommendation from the strategic plan to reduce and end homelessness, we built a brand new coordinated entry system from the ground up. What it does is it allows us to engage with people experiencing homelessness, ask a series of questions on a survey and gather that information. That information is used both to refer and provide housing solutions for those individuals when they become available, and also just to gather that information to better understand the scale and scope of homelessness in Athens. So our coordinated entry program was launched about 8 months ago. I think it was in June of 2025. Again, we created a whole set of policies and procedures. We created a training module for our partners who want to participate and conduct assessments. And we recruited a really wide swath of organizations, agencies, faith-based organizations, government agencies to participate and to help conduct these assessments and engage with folks to gather this information. So we currently have 22 partner providers. And over the last 8 months, they have assessed, as you can see here, almost 900 adults and children. Those are people experiencing homelessness in Athens-Clarke County. So on the back end of the coordinated entry system is working with providers and identifying opportunities, housing opportunities or available units or available housing programs, and then using our database of information to identify which participants in the program are eligible for which housing solutions. So if, for instance, it is a family with 2 children escaping a domestic violence situation, well, we have that information and we can filter that information. So if there is an opportunity through one of those housing programs, we can identify families who are eligible for those programs, contact them quickly and get them referred and housed quickly, efficiently, and equitably. Not just families, not just children, we can also identify people with veteran status, people living with disabilities, whoever's eligible and most vulnerable and eligible for these specific programs. So we maintain a real-time dashboard on our website. Our website is athenshc.org. If you go there and click, I don't know if you can see in the corner, but local data is the link there that will take you to our different dashboards. This is not the entire dashboard. It is just a screenshot of the top of our dashboard, but it provides real-time data from the information that we have gathered specifically to our coordinated entry program. You can see here some of the race, gender, age, physical disability, mental health condition. But if we were able to scroll down the dashboard, you could see chronic diseases, how long people have lived in Athens for, how long someone's been experiencing homelessness for, where someone or a family lived before they were experiencing homelessness or during their transition to homelessness. So there's a lot of good information in our dashboard. So next, I'd like to talk about our flexible housing fund. This fund was designed to prevent and reduce homelessness. There's already been a lot of talk about financial assistance. So this fund was designed both to help individuals and families exit homelessness into housing. So if someone is faced with a financial barrier, we provide one-time financial assistance, for instance, to pay a security deposit for an individual or family experiencing homelessness who is identified a unit or a house, but is unable to get there based on a one-time financial need. On the other side, it is this fund is also designed and utilized to help people who are in an unstable situation, currently in housing, but maybe in danger of being evicted or behind on their rent or utilities. And so this fund also was used to serve those individuals and families to help prevent them from being evicted or prevent them from facing homelessness. So we have $300,000 allocated to this program. You can see we've currently spent over $250,000. A majority of that went towards rental assistance. We found that there's just a terrible need for rental assistance, particularly with rental rate hikes and the kind of current wave of layoffs and people being unemployed. So each time we released these funds, they were snapped up very quickly. And this fund is designed to dispense that money as quickly as possible, usually less than 24 or 48 hours maximum, to help people out of that crisis situation. So in the time that this fund has been in existence, less than 1 year, we have supported 106 households, totaling over 300 people, adults and children. And just like the other program, we maintain a dashboard on our website, athenshc.org. It's the same, click on local data and choose flexible housing fund, and has real-time data of the amount we've spent, how many people have benefited from the program, and also some pie charts that show how that money has been distributed to what different causes. Like I mentioned, in the last year, faith-based programs has been a big priority of the Athens Homeless Coalition. So we've really started the ball rolling on strengthening our network with faith-based organizations. We started with downtown churches and held a forum there just to allow different people representing their congregations what programs they're conducting, what their experiences are with homelessness, ask any questions, ask hard or uncomfortable questions. You know, there are no bad questions, there are no dumb questions in these forums. So we set up a safe space for kind of an open and honest dialogue on the role of faith-based organizations in housing and homelessness. Based on this response, our participating network also some of our partners have started gift card drives, and those gift cards are specifically for the Athens Homeless Coalition to compensate people with lived experience who we consult with or who we work with to provide their expertise and guide the work that we do. We think it's only fair that people are compensated at a competitive rate, just like any subject matter expert would be. However, our funding kind of limits how we're able to provide that compensation. And so that's why we started this gift card drive. At our last forum, our second faith-based forum we held on the east side, because the east side of Athens has kind of a different set of homelessness, looks a little different on the east side, and the resources are different and the challenges are different. So that's why we held our second faith-based forum on the east side. And honestly, I think this picture was taken of someone expressing interest in sort of what do I do if, what does our church do if this situation, we're talking about real-time crisis management. What if someone is asking for food or needs a place to stay that night or appears to be acting erratically or possibly having a mental health episode or is putting themselves in danger? And I think those are valid questions and not just limited to church staff, but to, you know, to a lot of people in this community. So what we kind of hash this conversation out, and we're told that a navigation tool would be of benefit here. So we provided some resources in the past, and we have other resource lists that you all have seen some of, but this will be a specific kind of navigation tool, decision tree to help respond to a crisis situation in real time. We're also working with First Baptist Church downtown, who will be citing our pilot locker program. This is a program for people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, specifically people living downtown on the streets, to have a safe and secure place to store their belongings so it can be kept out of the weather. And so people can do things like attend a doctor's appointment or see their case manager or get something to eat or apply for a job without having to carry a giant backpack or an armful of blankets or all their possessions with them, or worry what's going to happen to everything they own while they go take care of this important business day today. We're also planning in the works a faith-based housing workshop that is in coordination with some folks in the Atlanta community. The Atlanta faith-based community has done a lot in terms of providing housing and actually establishing housing programs to help people exit homelessness, usually through very innovative partnerships with government entities and other nonprofits and developers. So we think there's a lot to learn from experts in that field. And so we're in the basis of bringing that community together with our community and sort of learn how our faith-based organizations can level up the work that they're doing to help reduce homelessness. People with lived expertise is another program that we take very seriously. We think that this is kind of a tokenized term that some organizations use, but this is really one of the foundations of the Athens Homeless Coalition and how we do our business. It's not our main priority to do face-to-face direct care engagement, but our community engagement coordinator, Mike Moss, does do a good bit of that to establish relationships with our on-house neighbors. And you can see here, he's been with us just over a year and done quite a bit of work in that regard. He also facilitates monthly listening sessions that take place at the Clarke County Library. That is a safe space, currently a closed space for people experiencing homelessness to get together, share their perspectives, provide each other with social support, and make recommendations. Technically, it's not a closed space because I think any event that we hold at the library is open to the public, but primarily people currently experiencing homelessness are the ones who attend it. I personally do not attend that room because I don't qualify in that regard. Another really innovative program that we have is called Street News. We have reached out to all of our community partners in other cities in Georgia and haven't found anyone who's doing something like this. This is a paper and also a digital publication, completely edited and contributions by people with lived experience. So far, we have 2 issues that are out. Our latest one is available on our website, athenshc.org. It's under What We Do, if you'd like to get an idea, but we support this effort and we facilitate it, but it is the editorial staff and our partners who are people with lived experience, either people currently experiencing homelessness or who have experience with homelessness, who provide the layout, review submissions, submit articles, artwork, photography. Mike Moss is also in the process of creating a curriculum for a new program called Lived Experience Ambassadors. This is to kind of widen his team of people with lived experience of homelessness to amplify their voices, work together, and promote change in our community. So community engagement, this slide is primarily focused on our engagement with our house neighbors and with other organizations. So you can see some examples here. I've mentioned that we held we held a downtown forum that was on request. A group of downtown businesses were kind of circulating some challenges that they were having with people on the streets and how they felt it was affecting their business. And so Athens Homeless Coalition caught wind of that email chain, reached out to this group through the Downtown Development Authority and held an open forum, kind of similar to our faith-based forums, where it's a safe space. People can talk about their experiences, share their challenges, and kind of have some open dialogue towards solutions. One of the things that they requested, kind of a theme, was a resource list. And we kind of operate in a bubble, and I assume that everyone knows what all of our emergency shelters are and know what our downtown food relief programs are, but that's not the case. And so we provided a resource list. If someone needs to get lunch and it's during a weekday, our Daily Bread is available downtown. And these are the emergency shelters that are within walking distance of downtown. So that's something that we did for the downtown businesses. I mentioned our faith-based network, and then we also get requested to table and speak at events. This is me attending the Backpack Project of Athens, which is a UGA student organization, the Backpack Project Community Resource Fair. And like I mentioned, we also played a role in bringing partners together to respond to the extreme weather response, particularly in the most recent snowstorm and ice storm that we had in Athens, working with Food Bank of Northeast Georgia, emergency response, the police department, Bigger Vision, other agencies to help provide food and help support our volunteers. The second Wednesday of every month, we also hold a community conversation and connection meeting. I think there should be commas in that bullet, but we call it C3 for short. It is open to the public. Anyone is welcome to attend. We're happy to buy you a cup of coffee if you're not able to buy coffee there. We've been holding that at Hendershots. That's 5 o'clock on the second Wednesday of every month. And again, it's to open dialogue in the community, answer tough questions about homelessness, hear people's thoughts and perspectives. We're also active members in the GIT committee. And so we're active in those meetings, and also our board chair also attends those meetings and did a great, put together a great presentation representing the GIT committee specific on alternative housing solutions and missing middle solutions. Again, we're going to continue to support our providers. Something that we can do a better job of, I think, is to communicate successes and challenges. We don't hear a lot of success stories. They're taking place every day. Sometimes they're small wins, sometimes they're big wins, but that's something that the Homeless Coalition is committed to doing in the upcoming year. Now, we have a really tight relationship with our service providers, but we're trying to expand that net even wider to improve our relationships with folks like the University of Georgia, the big hospitals, and leadership at those levels, and also businesses. We'll continue to communicate with and support our providers. We meet with them regularly. We speak with them weekly, if not daily. Our flexible housing fund, like I mentioned, we've distributed most of our funds from that fund. We have about $45,000 remaining. And so what we've chosen to do is to address a population that really didn't have access to the funds previously, which are people either in recovery or dealing with the challenge of substance abuse. So it works the same as our flexible housing fund. We are researching the most effective ways to help people succeed in their recovery. And the fund will be used to either help people exit homelessness directly into a recovery program, or if there are people currently who were previously experiencing homelessness and are in recovery, but in danger of being evicted from that program based on financial constraints, we can subsidize those funds that way to help people stay in recovery. As the evidence shows, the longer someone is in a recovery program, or as longer someone is in recovery, the more success. We're also conducting 3-month and 6-month follow-ups with all of our recipients of flexible housing funds. So it's a one-time fee to help someone, say, for instance, catch up on their rent, pay rent arrears, but it's not always clear where that family or that individual is 3 months from now or 6 months from now. We think that's really important information. And so that's something we're conducting to assess the stability outcomes based on this program. And then we want to raise awareness and advocate for additional funds. It's already come up in this meeting, and we recently had a rental assistance meeting where I think all of the commissioners currently here were present. So this is a challenge, and that makes all of our phones ring off the hooks. And so we realize that there is not a supply of funds to help that meets the demand for people in danger of being evicted from their homes. I'm going to try to move quickly. I appreciate everyone's time and patience. Community engagement, we have plans to expand our community conversation connection, our C3 program. I mentioned the navigation tool that I think is appropriate for faith-based organizations, but also for local businesses. We did hold a town hall, State of Homelessness, roughly a year ago, but we want to continue that series and create additional fora and invite a wider range of individuals to come and hear about homelessness and also share their experiences. We're also focused on addressing stigma and misinformation related to homelessness. There is a lot of talk about what people think homelessness is and what's it about. We find that the information that we have and the research and the data does not support a lot of this misinformation. Data does not show that people experiencing homelessness are lazy or don't want jobs or that they want to be homelessness. There are possibly exceptions, but overwhelming majority of the information we have contradicts that. So that's the type of thing that we want to help inform people about. Evaluation is something that's really a priority of the Athens Homeless Coalition. We are working with the UGA School of Social Work. We thought it was important to have an external partner help us with evaluation or design our evaluation plan. We don't want to grade ourselves. And so it's challenging to develop metrics in the kind of work that we do, but that's something that we're working with some experts on. measure program outcomes. What are the outcomes? What are the effects of our programs? And how can we use that information to improve our effectiveness? And I mentioned Street News, and that's another program that we want to level up. Like I mentioned, we're in partnership with a group called Movement and Storytelling, made up of people with the lived experience of homelessness. With that gift card program, we are now compensating the editors who put work into Street News and also people who submit content to the Street newspaper. And then increase distribution. We print up paper copies and distribute them with our partners, but we want to spread that as much as we can. Probably our main focus of what we plan to do in the next year, 2026 and 2027, is focused on policy and policy advocacy to improve access to affordable housing and deeply affordable housing. So we're currently in kind of a research phase so that we can continue to gather best practices and evidence-based practices and share that information with you all. And that's the communication component of this slide. These are some solutions that are some of the gold standards and some of the time-tested solutions to reduce homelessness in communities across the country, permanent supportive housing, incentives for developers to provide additional affordable units, incentives to attract more low-income developers. I noticed that came up in a previous presentation today. And also diversify housing solutions. There's more solutions other than single-family houses on a big yard and giant apartment complexes. There's a lot more than that. So we think it's important to explore those ideas. So I mentioned the rental assistance meeting that a lot of you attended. Kind of a theme there and a request was that there is a resource list for agencies that do provide rental assistance and who can we call. And so I did mock this up to share with this group, like I promised. I do want to say that funding is spotty and goes really quickly for all of these programs. So just because there's a phone number on here or there's an agency does not mean that they have available funds or that the person that you're speaking to is eligible for those funds. But I did want to make these available to you since that was a specific request. We have plenty, so take more than one. And if I know there are some commissioners who aren't present today, so feel free to take them for your colleagues.
We got Commissioner Wright has a question.
I have a couple questions. Your list of the 22 partner, what do you call that, partner providers?
Partner agencies who
I'd
are,
love to see that list. I can't think of 22. It's good to know that, is that something I would find on the website or is that something you could email us?
I'd be happy to email that to you. And really hats off to our community data coordinator. Her name is Claire Cates. And she really made an effort to recruit organizations outside of kind of the usual suspects. So I mean, it includes the police department, the sheriff's department. I'm trying to think, the library. So yes, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
And we're interested in expanding it
Yeah.
even wider. You know, we started with kind of a small circle of our core supporters and are branching out. So we see, say a church, community outreach liaison going through our training and being able to conduct one of these and getting that person into our system so they can be identified and referred.
Right, and then it's trusted because of not just from the vetting, but the training that you're doing. I think that's great.
Thank you.
You can't just, I think, learned a little bit more about that in the ice storm. And, how do you get volunteers to help? Well, you can't just have anybody. They have to have training and make sure they're trusted, helpful versus could be potentially aggravating situation. So that's awesome. What types, can you also send us, what are the types of gift cards that are being found? It's not all grocery, it's not that kind of stuff. If you send us that, because, I know it's kind of risky. If anybody went and got 10 gift cards, you get questioned to make sure you're not getting scammed. You know what I mean? That it is legit. But I think it's interesting to learn what the resource help can be, because when people are asking us, what can we do? You're giving me a good bit of stuff to direct them. But even that, it's like, don't give money, but what kind of gift card? So
Yeah.
that,
I mean, thank you for acknowledging that, because that is something that was an opportunity that we thought, working with faith-based organizations that they already do gift card drives and they know about this. So they've been really receptive to it. HUD restricts how we can compensate contractors for their time. So there's a tax form to fill out, and then we can write a check to someone, but that's not useful. Not everybody that we work with has a bank account, or, you know, that's not useful for everyone. So what we wanted to do was lower any barriers and any restrictions on what that payment is. So if someone hired me to be a consultant and work with them for a couple hours, I would expect to be paid in a way that gives me the freedom to spend that income however I want. So to answer your question, we're requesting either, really our top request would be like a Visa gift card that is useful anywhere. And we're not handing these out like as charity on the corner. This is payment for services rendered.
Okay, that's awesome. I did get I saw a digital version of the Streets News. It was long.
Yeah.
That's a lot to print in there. But do you have a spot in one of the magazine racks for the printed versions? Are you using our magazine racks that are like in front of City Hall?
No.
They're empty. It's like flagpole's the only thing left. I remember when they were filled with handouts and stuff, but it seems like you could claim not claim, but if you put a sticker or something on there that helps people know how to, or the QR code to get to your digital version, but yet your stack could be in one of those. I don't think it's a permission needed. They're free, they're open.
No, there is.
Huh?
There's a process.
I knew Jeff.
Hey, we already got permission.
I'm glad to point it out.
Well, that's why you're here, to make sure misinformation is not shared.
Well, we're happy to participate in that process because like I mentioned, distribution is one of our priorities. And right now we share them with our service providers, and a handful of businesses have them by the register.
Well, if you can get through the gatekeeper over there, hopefully because you can see where that would be effective. And then the support, the recovery support, is the Advantage Behavioral's Active in Recovery program. Is that part of your all's outreach or is that part of your future plans? I kind of missed.
These are future plans, but we are, as you can imagine, this is a sticky and kind of challenging policy to come up with because we want to do what's most effective, but we also want to cast the widest net. And not every recovery program is equal. Some are certified and some are not. So we need to be really mindful of who's eligible for this program, what the highest success rate might be for this program, and also who are we referring people to with their greatest chance of success.
And making sure that the connection is a positive one for the person who needs the support.
Yeah.
And make sure, okay.
To answer your question, Advantage Behavioral Health is a close partner of ours, and they run the Homeless Day Service Center and are very active on the COC. So along with other COC members, they're tight partners with ours. So in these pilot programs, a lot of time we start with our core partners and then try to expand the centers.
And then I hear Hendershot is closing. What are you gonna do?
I heard that too.
Yeah.
I just we'll be looking for a new location for our C3.
But you have time, you also have time for that transition. Like, do you have some more of these things happening at Hendershots to share the new location?
Yes, and we have tomorrow is our next C3, and then a month from then. So we have a month to find a new location. That's a great one because it's a partnership with a local business, and coffee's available for those who want it. We've also held sessions on the east side at Bird Community Center. I think some of you have attended those also. So we have options.
I think that's it that I wanted some feedback on.
Great questions.
Thank you, Michael. If there's a situation after hours, with a family, who would they contact? Would they go ahead and do the 211? If any of us commissioner a call after hours, who would we refer? Say somebody's maybe spend the night at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Who would we refer them to? How do we have anything at night?
Yeah, I think that's really challenging. 211, I think, is an option where you can get someone on the line and can provide some resources. Now, those resources might not be available in real time in the middle of the night. Also, I don't know if you're aware, but ACCPD has put together a similar resource database. And so that's available online. They have a QR code and they have some cards, but that's something else to provide that real-time information.
And also.
You're in a sticky wicket and
Yeah, yeah.
it comes up quite a lot. These things tend to happen
On
on
weekends too.
Friday evening and weekends. So I empathize, and currently there aren't a lot of great solutions. I think it would depend on the severity and sort of the circumstances. So if it's someone fleeing domestic violence, there are a couple of hotlines that have to call. If it's a veteran, then there are after-hours services for people in that situation. Obviously, if it's a medical emergency, that's a different set of circumstances. If it's a mental health emergency, Advantage has a crisis unit that's open, of course.
My next question is, I'm glad you said what you said about some of the homeless population that, folks, to work. And one suggestion is that it may be in here, but I don't see, how do we tie people in and get employment? I don't hear that enough. What you think, not only employment, but then even with childcare. So how do we tie in? Because I think where I'm going with this is because of what they do in the chamber now with trying to help somebody reach out to the chamber, help them find jobs. How do we tie in what you're doing, people that may want employment? I was just out at Johnson & Johnson today for their ribbon cutting. Was out there. They got a big hiring sign out there. They hiring folks. And some other industries are hiring people. So are y'all doing any of that, connect them with businesses or with people that are hiring? And I guess it's twofold. Not only hiring, but also trying to get them trained. Even maybe we working with Athens-Clarke. Hey, we got programming, they can get certificates. They get, again, because to me, the quickest way you get people out of homeless situation and then into housing to get them good paid.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And really, when I edited this, the future activities, because workforce development is one of our future goals. So we have had meetings with the chamber and also with the program that they're doing with Family Connection Community in Schools for workforce development. And also Athens Area Homeless Shelter has had some successful programs with Athens-Tech. And so another sub-bullet, when I mentioned the Peer Ambassador Program under community engagement, life skills and job skills and workplace skills are also part of that ambassador program, part of that curriculum. So that is something we're definitely aware of and focused on. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Any other questions among the commissioners? All right, I was trying to get it out in 2 hours. We did okay, 18 minutes over.
Thank you. Sorry to keep you all.
No, we're taking, you was asking questions. Thank you. All right, guys, I have a good day and I'll see everybody on next Tuesday.
Good job.
We don't have an executive session, so if we show up, conduct business and be out.